25 most interesting facts about the world. With around 200 countries and more than 7.5 billion people, the world is full of interesting, fun, and fascinating people, places, and things. In the land of the Kiwis, for instance, you'll find the highest concentration of pet owners on the planet. And over in Nicaragua, you'll find one of the only two flags in the world that features the color purple. Hungry for more facts about the world and its ever-growing population? Read on to learn some interesting facts about the Earth's past, present, and future. 1. North Korea and Cuba are the only places you can't buy Coca-Cola. No matter where you go, it's comforting to know you can always enjoy a Coca-Cola. Well, almost anywhere. While this fizzy drink is sold practically everywhere, it still hasn't, officially, made its way to North Korea or Cuba, according to the BBC. That's because these countries are under long-term US trade embargoes. However, some folks say you might be able to snag a sip of the stuff if you try hard enough, although it'll typically be a lot more expensive than what you would pay in the States, and probably imported from a neighboring country such as Mexico or China. 2. The entire world's population could fit inside Los Angeles. The world's total population is more than 7.5 billion. And obviously, that number sounds huge. However, it might feel a little more manageable once you learn that if every single one of those people stood shoulder to shoulder, they could all fit within the 500 square miles of Los Angeles, according to National Geographic. 3. There are more twins now than ever before. You might think twins are a rarity, but they're actually becoming more common than ever. From about 1915, when the statistical record begins, until 1980, about 1 in every 50 babies born was a twin, a rate of 2%, writes Alexis C. Madrigal of The Atlantic. Then, the rate began to increase. By 1995, it was 2.5%. The rate surpassed 3% in 2001 and hit 3.3% in 2010. That means 1 out of every 30 babies born is a twin. Scientists believe this trend is due to the fact that older women tend to have more twins, and women are choosing to start families later. Fertility treatments such as in vitro fertilization likely also play a role. 4. The hottest chili pepper in the world is so hot it could kill you. The weapons-grade dragon's breath chili pepper is so hot it's downright deadly. If you ate one, it could potentially cause a type of anaphylactic shock, burning the airways and closing them up. I've tried it on the tip of my tongue and it just burned and burned, said Mike Smith, the hobby grower who invented the dragon's breath along with scientists from Nottingham University. So why make such an impractical pepper? As it turns out, the chili was initially developed to be used in medical treatment as an anesthetic that can numb the skin. 5. More people visit France than any other country. France is a beautiful country, filled to the brim with delicious wines, scrumptious cheese, and tons of romance. So it's no surprise that more people want to visit France than any other country in the world, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. In 2017, the European country welcomed 86.9 million people. Spain was the second most popular destination with 81.8 million visitors, followed by the United States, 76.9 million, China, 60.7 million, and Italy, 58.3 million. La vie est belle. 6. The world's most densely populated island is the size of 2 soccer fields. Santa Cruz del Islote in the archipelago of San Bernardo off the coast of Colombia may only be about the size of 2 soccer fields, aka 2 acres, but the artificial island has 4 main streets and 10 neighborhoods. 500 people live on the island in around 155 houses. With so many people packed into such a small space, it's the most densely populated island in the world, according to The Guardian. 7. The Canary Islands are named after dogs, not birds. It might seem safe to assume that the Canary Islands were named after canary birds, but the location was actually named after dogs. Although it's off the coast of northwestern Africa, the archipelago is actually part of Spain. In Spanish, the area's name is Islas Canarias, which comes from the Latin phrase Canariae Insulae for island of dogs. World facts related to dogs. Now those we can get behind. 8. Indonesia is home to some of the shortest people in the world. Though there are short people and tall people everywhere, Indonesia is home to some of the shortest people in the world, according to data compiled from various global sources by The Telegraph in 2017. When taking both genders into account, the average adult is around 5 feet, 1.8 inches. People in Bolivia don't tend to be much taller, with an average adult height of 5 feet, 2.4 inches. The tallest people among us live in the Netherlands, where the average adult height is 6 feet. 9. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change was signed by the largest number of countries ever in one day. When 174 world leaders signed the Paris Agreement on Earth Day in 2016 at the United Nations (UN) headquarters in New York, it was the largest number of countries ever to come together to sign anything on a single day, according to the UN. The agreement aimed to combat climate change and accelerate and intensify the actions and investments needed to strengthen the global climate effort. 10. The world's quietest room is located at Microsoft's headquarters in Washington state. Silence is golden, as they say. And while it may not be worth quite as much as jewels and gold to most people, it certainly was the primary goal for those who built the quietest room in the world. Located at Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington, the lab room measures a background noise of -20.35 dBA, which is 20 decibels below the threshold of human hearing and breaks previous records for spaces that were deemed the planet's quietest places, according to CNN. As soon as one enters the room, one immediately feels a strange and unique sensation which is hard to describe. Hundraj Gopal, a speech and hearing scientist and principal designer of the anechoic chamber at Microsoft, told CNN. Most people find the absence of sound deafening, feel a sense of fullness in the ears, or some ringing. Very faint sounds become clearly audible because the ambient noise is exceptionally low. When you turn your head, you can hear that motion. You can hear yourself breathing and it sounds somewhat loud. 11. There are only 3 countries in the world that don't use the metric system. For simplicity's sake, most of the more than 200 countries in the world use the metric system when describing things like length or mass. However, there are 3 countries that stand out: Liberia, Myanmar, and the United States. And soon, that number might be down to 2. In 2018, Liberia Commerce and Industry Minister Wilson Tarpe said the government plans to adopt the metric system in order to promote accountability and transparency in trade, according to the Liberian Observer. 12. The longest place name on the planet is 85 letters long. People who live in Maminkakumpurankunjunya Hill, Australia, need a little patience when it comes to learning to spell their hometown's name. But you know what? So do the folks from Lake Charjogagogman Chornagago Gigi Chorbanagungamaarug in Massachusetts and Twee Buffels Met en Scootmas Dude Geskiatfontein, South Africa. None of them have quite as much work to do when jotting down their address as those who live in Taumatafakatangihanga Koauautomateapurai Phi Fenwikitanatahu, New Zealand, though. At 85 letters long, this is the longest place name in the world. 13. 4 babies are born every second. Every second, we welcome 4 new babies into our overall population. Do a little math and you'll find out that means there are approximately 250 births each minute, 15,000 each hour, and 360,000 each day. In a full year, there are around 131.4 million babies born on Earth, according to the Ecology Global Network. 14. The coldest temperature ever recorded was -144 degrees Fahrenheit. You might think you're accustomed to frigid air and blustery winds, but the average winter day has nothing on the coldest day ever recorded, which was -144 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature was recorded in Antarctica during a span of research between 2004 and 2016. Just a few breaths of air at that temperature would induce hemorrhaging in your lungs and kill you. 15. The Earth's ozone layer will make a full recovery in 50 years. Because of pollution, the Earth's ozone layer has suffered a lot. That's bad news for everyone, since the fragile gas layer protects our planet and shields us from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. Fortunately, climate change experts believe that the ozone layer will fully heal within 50 years, according to a 2018 report from the United Nations. The recovery is thanks in large part to the Montreal Protocol of 1987, which put a global ban on the use of one of the main culprits for the damage, chlorofluorocarbons, CFOs. Previously, CFOs had been common in refrigerators, aerosol cans, and dry cleaning chemicals. 16. Japan is the world's most earthquake-prone country. Earthquakes can range from minor tremors that are barely noticeable to building toppling ground shakers that cause massive destruction. But it's an inevitable part of life for those who live in countries such as China, Indonesia, Iran, and Turkey, which are some of the most earthquake-prone places on the planet. However, according to the US Geological Survey, Japan records the most earthquakes in the world. 17. There are around 4 quadrillion bacteria on Earth. Not all bacteria are bad. In fact, some of those itty-bitty biological cells are actually good for us and aid the world in various and complex ways. And that's nice to know, considering there are around 4 quadrillion individual bacteria on our planet, according to NPR. 18 people who are currently alive represent about 7% of the total number of people who have ever lived. Here's another world fact to keep in the back of your mind. According to the Population Reference Bureau, since the time Homo sapiens first hit the scene 50,000 years ago, more than 108 billion members of our species have been born. And a large chunk of that number is alive right now. According to the Bureau, the number of people alive today represents a whopping 7% of the total number of humans who have ever lived. 19 Muhammad is thought to be the most popular name in the world. Step aside John, James, Mary, and Jane, the most popular name in the world is believed to be Muhammad. According to The Independent, an estimated 150 million men and boys around the world share this name. The popularity is thanks to a Muslim tradition of naming each firstborn son after the Islamic prophet. Only 2 countries use purple in their national flags. Looking for some more interesting facts? Well, here's one. The flag of Nicaragua features a rainbow in the center that includes a band of purple, while the flag of Dominica boasts a picture of a Cicero parrot, a bird with purple feathers. These elements make them the only 2 flags in the world that use the color purple. 21 Africa and Asia are home to nearly 90% of the world's rural population. Not everyone lives in a booming city or sprawling suburb. Many people still make their homes outside of bustling locations, especially in India, which has the largest number of people living in rural areas. Approximately 893 million people live outside of the city, according to Reuters. China also has an impressively large rural population, with 578 million living outside of major centers. 22 The most expensive coin in the world was sold for more than $7 million. The 1933 double eagle was a $20 US coin made of gold that never went into circulation. A few of the coins were made, but most were destroyed, save for 9 that were presumed stolen by US mint workers. After years circulating the globe and falling into the hands of a few notable owners, including the King of Egypt, one of the coins was auctioned off at Sotheby's in 2002 for a stunning $7,590,020. That made it the most expensive coin ever sold at auction. 23 The world's largest man-made oyster reef was created in Maryland. Due to overfishing and disease, the oyster population in Maryland's Chesapeake Bay was seriously suffering. But thanks to dedicated work by scientists at the Horn Point Laboratory, the Army Corps, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the Nature Conservancy, the state is now the location of the world's largest man-made oyster reef. Home to more than 1 billion oysters, the area is a no-fishing zone, which will hopefully give the population a chance to recover. 24 A record-breaking 92 countries competed in the 2018 Winter Olympics. Every 4 years, the Olympic Games bring together the most competitive athletes from around the world. And when the Pyeongchang Winter Games were held in 2018, 2,952 athletes were expected to show up from a total of 92 countries. That beat the previous record of 2,800 athletes from 88 countries who participated in the Winter Games in 2014. 25 South Sudan is the youngest country in the world. Some countries are hundreds of years old, while others can trace their nation's history back for thousands of years. But South Sudan in North Africa just gained its independence from Sudan in 2011, which currently makes it the youngest country in the world. Our text here.